All right, everybody, welcome. I have somebody very special that I'm sitting with, and not just somebody special, but her very cute dog who I miss so much. Look at him back there. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for being here. I have with me today, she's going by now, KJ the Witch, and I love it. I love this for you. So thank you for being here, my friend. It's so good to see you.
Thank you for having me, Danielle. It's really a pleasure to be here.
Yes, I know. We got on the Zoom and we're just like both like huge grins because we haven't gotten to see each other like even though we're virtual in several months. So it feels good to just be in each other's space. Let me just drop in really quick and I'll share a little bit about KJ, how we know each other, and then I have some burning questions for you, my friend. And so I'm going to introduce you just from my experience of you. So KJ is somebody who I remember the moment she rolled up and we were on a summer camp in Texas and she's in the passenger seat and she's just like beaming this like light beam of a human. And I was like, we gotta be friends. And I think she kind of felt the same way. And then we just were, we were just friends from that point. And it was so cool. But at that point in both of our lives, this was probably 2015 or 16. Yeah, so living on a summer camp together and both of us just knowing that we were going to be doing more in the world and both of us starting to step into more in that chapter of our lives. And it's been so cool to see over the last, I guess we've been doing this for 5 or 6 years now.
Mm-hmm.
KJ step into entrepreneurship, to coaching, to this healing work that she does, and really what I've seen and why I wanted to bring her on this podcast first, this is the first podcast, is
Yeah.
that she has been, I've just seen KJ be somebody who has, like, maybe you've been afraid to take some risks, but you've taken a lot of risks in your like journey of manifestation, of stepping into this line of work. And I think your story is one that's very inspiring to me. So yes, thank you so much for being here. Do you mind dropping us in and just sharing with us now? Like, I know you are going through a rebrand, you're doing a lot of different like shifts in your work, but share with us now, what are you doing in your work? What are you offering now in the world? What's like lighting you up right now?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. That is exactly how I introduce you, as I'm like person inspired me to start a business while living together in a summer camp,
Mhm. Yep.
Thank you for that. So what is alive for me right now is somatic healing and shadow work. And like you said, I originally started off doing courses and women's circles, and then moved into coaching and business coaching. And while there was a common thread amongst all of that, what it ultimately ended up coming back to, because I am at the end of my Saturn return, what it ultimately ended up coming back to is healing, and is healing in a way that has been reflected in my journey and what I've been delivered to this earth to heal. And a lot of that is, oh, here comes Huli online, howling in his sleep.
Oh,
It happens sometimes.
yes. Thank you for this.
You can try to
Oh
stop
my
it, but
it's everything right now. It's okay, Huli. Is this a really intense dream?
it's like
Like,
once a month that it happens.
I'm so glad we got to be blessed with that. Thank you.
Yeah, everyone, he's okay. He's okay. He's just dreaming. So the various things that I have been put on this earth to heal are the exact things that I'm now inspired to help other
Mhm.
witches heal. Sister wound, witch wound, all sorts of patriarchal white supremacist
Mhm.
conditioning, sexual trauma, emotional trauma, ancestral trauma, and then some, and really been asked to look at those places with brutal honesty of what was actually happening. And a lot of that, not necessarily taking responsibility of I caused it, I asked for anything like that, but looking at both people, both sides, all different sides of the story, and offering some sort of forgiveness and light towards those things. And it's not always easy work, and it ends up taking you to really, really deep places. But what I have learned over the last several years of gathering this is creating a safe container is first and foremost. And that's really what it is that I do, which is I just create a safe container for other people to access their own guidance, inspired action, feelings of bliss, surrender, rest, ease, whatever it is that they need. That is what I hold space for them to access.
Do you feel like there's more like stuff coming out to heal right now, especially in this line of work with the witch wound and ancestral lines? Like, you feel like it's ramping up? Because I mean, you've been in the healing space, we've been in the healing space for a while, but does it feel like it's like amplified right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, even this morning I was holding space for breath work for somebody who was a very powerful reflector in human design, and
Cool.
I ended up having all sorts of different, like, oh my gosh, that happened to me type of moments, like reflections of memories that were all of a sudden like boom, out of the shadow. I had been suppressing that, and I knew I was suppressing it, but still subconsciously. And then in that breathwork session that I was holding space for, I ended up getting a reflection. It was wild and a big one too.
Yeah, that's huge. So human design, we haven't gotten to jam out on that at all yet either. And so, most of my peeps that are going to be listening to this later on, they know I love the tool of human design, and we use it a lot in our leadership work. How has that like integrating, because you're a projector, right? Yeah, love me a freaking projector. Jerome is a projector, and like, yes, and both of my sisters. So how has like knowing this part of your blueprint shifted how you do business and how you lead, since kind of diving into human design?
So all of July I was off Instagram, which is a whole nother story, which we could talk about if you want. But I was off Instagram, and I ended up receiving all of these emails from people who wanted to work with me. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to wait for the invitation. And it sucks because I would love to go out there and like, I have all this channeled stuff that feels very much in alignment with how other people show up online. And I'm working on channeling what I need as a projector to be that light. I've been described that projectors are a lighthouse, shining their light in the darkness, and the ships that resonate with my vibration of light are going to come and invite me to work with them. And waiting for that is the act of surrender that right now, I listened to the surrender experiment a few months ago, and I was like, I want to surrender. That sounds great.
Yeah.
And the universe just started like ripping everything out of my life that was not in alignment, just brutal. And and that was mostly in my business too. So being off Instagram, looking at what is it that's actually working in my business? Oh, it's shining my light. It's being a projector. It's not trying to keep up with the Joneses, which I wrote about in my newsletter this past week. I was like, I am a Jones. Like, I don't need to, like, literally, that is my last name. I do not need to try to keep up with everybody else. Like, it's the other way around.
Yeah.
which is like, what would it look like if we, and I've had so many clients say, but how can you, like, we have to be on Instagram. We have to be on Instagram. I'm like, there's another way of looking at that, you know, like
Yeah.
as a projector, I really only have 4 hours of really good, high energy, high quality work in my day
Yeah.
available. So how can I be as efficient with that? And right before we started recording, we started talking about assistance, like as efficient with my energy to do what I am in my power to do, which is so hard because I want to do everything else too.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
girl.
I want to have
Mm-hmm.
my fingers in all the honey pots. Like I want to manage the YouTube and I want to manage the podcast and I like want to do all the things, but that's not my job necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a
I love
healer.
that. Yeah. Yeah. And you got to be in your lane. I talk about that a lot. Like, be in your lane. Just, and a lot of it is finding out what our lane is. And so much of, you know, taking up space as a healer or as a leader or whatever, I think a lot of times we can think, and I know I thought that means I have to be doing all of the things. And I know for me as a manifester, the heart, I think it's almost like with our human design, when we integrate it, it's like the hardest thing to integrate and accept about our design is like the nugget to being in like actual alignment, right? So as a manifester, it was like, you know, you're not supposed to be doing all of it. Same with the projector. Like, I'm not supposed to be like, oh, here's this idea. Now let me be the one to do all of it and wear myself out in the process. Right. So I feel like for anybody listening that's going to listen to this later, also, it's like you have that, like you have a unique signature and way the energy in your medicine flows through you, that it's okay to take the time and do the scary shit to figure out like what that is, because I'm sure it wasn't easy. Like, I know about our journey with Instagram. Like, me and you have a whole history with Instagram, right? So it's
Yes, we
like,
do.
I know that probably wasn't easy to like get off there, but I'm so freaking proud of you and like inspired by the fact that you were just like, you followed that sacred yes to be like, no, I don't need to be on it. So how was it? How was it being off of it for a whole month after, you know, being very involved on Instagram?
Yeah, it's really good. It was really, 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 really good. I did find I still wanted that phone fixation.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up picking up solitaire.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, everything, and not nearly as, it's not like scrolling, right? You know, it's like I play a game a week, basically, is what it's like. I need to have something. But I was like, might as well work on my mind. So it's been really actually very wonderful. I've noticed people scrolling around me and I'm like, wow, they're
Mm-hmm.
missing out. They're missing out on life, you know? And because they're afraid of being bored. And I'm afraid of being bored too, right? Like we're afraid of like what the shadowy parts of our mind are going to say if we are not distracted all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to be a part of that anymore.
Yeah.
Personally, you know, like I don't want to be affected by it. On the flip side, I do understand that like my business can have a presence online without me needing to be the
Mm-hmm.
one that's running it. Again, staying in our lane, you know,
Mm-hmm.
going back to that, staying in our lane. Like if there's a problem, send me a screenshot and I'll tell you what to reply, you know, like I don't need to be the one in the DMs all the time. And in fact, I'm trying to redirect people off of the app and into spaces with me. That's
Mm-hmm.
actually what my intention is going forward, is everything that is going to be created through my team. I was just going through the slides that my assistant, I told you before we started recording, she's more than my assistant, but Kristen, she does my podcast, she
Mm-hmm.
does everything. She sent me some templates of quotes and client testimonials and those types of things. And I was like, this is great, you know, because then we can just keep cycling content through that and promoting the things that are alive. Like I'll go live maybe a few times a month, probably
Mm-hmm.
with somebody in the form of an interview. And other than that, everything else that we're going to put out there going forward is like, here's how you can connect deeper. Here's how you can come into a container with me. Here's how you can join this breathwork session. There's a plane flying over. I don't know if you're,
Mm-hmm.
getting that,
It's
but
okay. Yeah.
I live in a van, everyone.
Yeah, and that's so cool. I know we need like 4 podcasts together to
Mhm.
share all of these stories. Okay, so this made a really interesting question come up because a lot of who is walking with, illumination and walking with me on their journey is they're, you know, stepping a foot in the door of creation or entrepreneurship or healing work, or, they're a couple years in. So what would you say to somebody that wants that balance, like doesn't want to feel like they have to be on a social media account all the time, but still needs to get testimonies and needs to like get out there and be known for the work that they're starting to do? What would you say to somebody like that to find some balance?
Balance between offline marketing and online marketing.
Yeah.
I've started to work with some local healers in the area, in the Tahoe
Hmm.
area. And what I have found, I mean, Instagram is simply a web page for
Hmm.
easy word of mouth marketing. That's how I'm viewing it now, right? Where it's like, it's not necessarily a place for me to like always check in with what's going on in my day. Like, join my email list if you want to know what's going on in my life. But that's not the place for it anymore. What is the place is your local community, likely. I mean, if you're a traveling person, that's going to be a different conversation. But if you have a local community, get out into your community.
Hmm.
I have always had a community job. Even when I was running my business making 6 figures, I always had a community job because I want to be known in this community in as A, active, and B, that someone has an opportunity to feel my energy in person, right? Because that, as you've probably experienced, being, having a wellness space in a community, when someone can connect with you one-on-one, there is that instant rapport. It's so much harder on the internet. It actually takes way
Hmm.
longer on the internet to build that rapport. So if someone can connect with you in person and they're like, wait, you're a healer? You deal with trauma work? Like what? Word starts to spread and you start to be known in your area as that person, and word of mouth it's the strongest form of marketing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's such like a aligned projector piece of advice. Just trust, like there will be invitations for you to do what you need to do. Like, yes. And like that's part of that release of control. Like, again, I'm just being reminded of how much of this also is somatic. Like how much operating as a healer, a light worker, a business person that's driven by impact, like is directly related to how um the state of our nervous system.
Yes.
And I think that's a huge change that's happening. I'm going, balls deep into studying birth right now, right? Because we got a birth coming up in 3 months. And so much of birth also is like how like relaxed can you be when you are in some like discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
And I know parts of this journey have not been comfortable. So many parts of my journey in creation and entrepreneurship have not been comfortable. And it's almost like my nervous system knows how to cope with the discomfort and almost like be in it, like just see it for what it is. Like, so could you give us some language like on that bridge between the somatic side of like being on your journey as a healer and like how important the actual like trauma healing part is for somebody? Because I know you've seen it and I've seen it, the disembodiment that can take place in this line of work specifically, where you say you do one thing, maybe you do have a channel open to the eighth dimension of the archangels, and something goes a little off in person in this physical reality, and it's almost like you can't regulate, right? I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
you've seen pieces of that. So do you have language for that very important piece of like our individual somatic healing trauma work as lighthouses?
Mm-hmm. The first thing that came up was because you were talking about how comfortable can you be in the discomfort, and it brought me back to the little bit of cold water dips I did this past winter in Donner Lake here. I don't know how cold it was in the water. I didn't look at it. I didn't really want to know. I mean, there were icebergs floating by type of situation in the mountains, 6,000 feet. And what I kept telling myself is it's just cold water. It's just cold water. Like, can you be in the sensation of cold without it being a problem? Basically, is what I was trying to train myself to do. And then someone told me that they say God is in the water. And I was like, oh, hell yeah, that's even easier, to be like, this is where God is right here in this moment, like feeling this, and that was a really big somatic breakthrough for me as well. And that's not to say, so when I say somatic, I'm referring to anything related to the body, somatic healing using the body as an instrument for healing, because that is where our trauma responses are trapped in our body. And I still get triggered all the time, right? Like I'm going to get triggered all the time because I woke up in a human body and the work is not done. And that's okay, right? That is okay, that I'm going to wake up knowing, choosing, my soul chooses to work through these triggers on a regular basis. I, through this work, have become more aware of those triggers. And I'm like, oh shit. Like one of the biggest ones that I've worked a lot on is Hooli. Like other people saying anything negative about Hooli or about me being a mom to Hooli, I would trigger the shit out of me, right? Like I would get enraged. Like I would feel heat moving up my entire body, filling my face, and like wanting to just like roar at that person. And I no longer feel that way. If something were to happen, if there's like, a reason to feel that way, like there's an actual attack or something, of course I'll be like in protective mode. But that is why we have that trauma response, right? To protect our young, to protect our families. But there are times when it's I don't want to use the word misplaced, but activated in a way that isn't actually a healthy response. And I've started to notice that more and more and more and more and more in my life. And that is simply the opportunity to look at that. That is the shadow, right? We can either turn away and say, oh, I didn't like that. Good vibes only. I'm only going to look over here. Or you can look that straight in the face and ask, what is it that you are trying to tell me? What is the message here?
Yeah, I love that. And hang out with it. Like Ram Dass says, like invite it for tea. Because it's not like the shadow doesn't have to be a scary monster like we've been conditioned to believe. Like it's literally like holds wisdom and codes and up levels. Like I'm sure you've studied Gene Key's work, but like the gene, not yet. Oh my gosh, we gotta jam in on that too. But in the Gene Keys, there's 3 vibrations that our cells are vibrating at: shadow, gift, and then the enlightened frequency of like the siddhi. So the shadow is literally the seed that plants the gift. Like it is like such an important part, and I love that. I love how it's integrating into your work now. I can feel it because we've done a lot of shadow work together. You've come on a couple of the trainings. Your teaching from the Light Leader Mastermind is still available in the library. So I think it's really cool that we can like speak to it at this level. And also see the body correlation with it. I think that's, oh yeah, that's next level. I can't wait to see where KJ the Witch goes from here with all of these creations coming out. So speaking of, you said with your social media detox, and it sounds like this summer, which is funny. We always have parallels every time we talk. We're like, oh yeah, I've been going through this too. Like, so yes, you mentioned something like you had to like rip away a lot of the parts of your business that weren't working, which I'm sure created an ebb. I'm studying a lot about ebbs and flows of abundance, resources, opportunities, everything. So that's really fresh in my experience right now, like running this physical wellness center, all of that. So my last kind of thing I would love for you to touch on is like tools and ways that we can view these natural, important ebbs that are going to come into our experience and not be taken under by them, because I can feel myself sometimes. Little Danielle comes in and she's like, oh, like so afraid that I'm going to fail, so afraid that I'm not going to be able to pay everybody, so afraid. But then it always works out, you know? Like, do you have any like help for us, for me? This is really just for me, I'm being selfish. Like in those moments, somatically, shadow work wise, anything you can give us for these ebb moments.
Mm-hmm. First, and because yes, I am coming out of an ebb. Recently I had a Reiki healer tell me that she was like, "You're pregnant," and I was like, energetically, yes, I am very pregnant. Like, I'm not. I'm on day 4 of my cycle right now. I'm not actually pregnant, but and then I ended up pulling like a pregnancy card right after that that conversation. But I feel like I'm coming out of an ebb right now, and it's really, really beautiful to see the like tip of sunrise peeking over the mountaintop, where the universe is like, I've got you. I've got you. And what has gotten me through that time, first and foremost, is community. Having someone, some other being to co-regulate with you, and ideally a group, you know, that's really nice, is when you have a group of people saying, I'm experiencing this too, you're not the only one, the cosmos reflected as well, we're all going through this, you know. For you to realize you're not alone, because our brain will always tell us you're alone in this, you're the only one, you know. And that is just not the case. So when we can co-regulate with other people, meaning our nervous system synced up with other people's, and we can feel that community, that support, that love all around us, that for me has always been what gets me past those deepest, darkest, scariest, is the community that I've made. I mean, I got to a point where my business shifted, like it all shifted fast. Once I decided, I mean, I've read that quote has changed my life so many times, over and over and over again. Don't be surprised how quickly the universe responds once you've decided. I was like, I'm ready to burn it down. I'm ready to burn what does not work. I'm ready to burn what does not serve. Like, I believe, let's go. And client after client after client started leaving. And I was like, oh, there they go. Okay, yay. Like, I'm also supposed to increase my, you know, the hours of Kristen, my right hand witch. And I was like, okay, like I've got this, like I've actually got this, like there's the money in savings, let's just like move it over. That's why we saved, you know, like for this moment, and then move that over, and then feel release, no more pressure, taking the load off, landing in my local community, literally landing here and getting a job here, and just like putting hands on cash again and being like, I am so fucking abundant, and allowing that to shift my vibe and bring in more people. Like, that is the latest dip, right, to into sunrise. And again, every time it's the people that have been around me. When I had $30 in my bank account for a week straight, my partner sent me $300, and I had a whole thing about receiving that, right? Like, I can't receive without doing anything. I can't receive just for being me. What? You know, like pure shock. And that was exactly what I needed to work through, is that I get to receive. I get to receive just for being me. I get to be supported by the ones that love me.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. Please, everybody, like, let's take a breath into that. Let's breathe into that. Let's breathe in. And let's let it go. Let's do that again. Let's breathe in. And let's let it go. Yeah, thank you. That was right in the kisser for me. Somebody who is like, I can just fucking do it all myself, like, and this baby is teaching me like, like you, like, it is such a valuable lesson, I feel like, as healers and people on this path to like, yes, like you, if you hold a big vision, the universe will absolutely provide the support. And a lot of times it comes in the form of other people,
Mhm.
but we have to be open to that. We have to be open and willing to receive that.
Mhm.
So thank you for that reminder. Because yeah, you're right. It can feel very alone sometimes. So yes, the power of community, the power of co-regulation. Mm, yeah. Thank you, my friend.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. So what's next? Where can we find you out and about here? How can these illuminated leaders connect with you moving forward?
Normally, I would send people straight to Instagram, and you can definitely go follow my podcast at Womanifester
Mhm.
on Instagram. That's where you're going to get all of the latest updates as far as like how to join my email list and how to join a community breathwork class or learn more about a retreat. All of that's going to be linked through Instagram.
Mhm.
I won't be on Instagram. I'll be in email. So if you join my Sacred Sunday newsletter,
Mm,
then you can always hit reply, and that's where you'll find me, is in email.
cool. I love your emails. Awesome. Yeah. And then I'll be seeing you soon. I think get connected, right?
Yes.
Yes, I've been. I mean, you've been like, you better be coming. So I've been telling everybody Katie Jones is coming. It's like,
Yes.
yeah.
Oh
So
my
we will
gosh,
be
that's a
in.
manifestation in and of itself.
Yeah.
The flights for that, that's a whole nother story. Let me tell you later.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for your time, Huli. Thank you for that epic howl. Um, I just feel very grateful we got to spend some time together. Yeah. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you, Danielle. It's been lovely.
Yes. All right. Love y'all. See you on the flip side. Keep shining that light. See you soon.
Bye.